My name's Rachel Webber. I'm Chair of Trustees for the Gateway Charity, alongside our fabulous volunteers who are in the audience tonight. This is the team who have been working extremely hard in different capacities to get through this crisis and bring back our beautiful venue to the heart of Seaton. It has been a very stressful roller coaster. I know that one of the criticisms of us has been that we haven't sent out enough frequent and detailed updates. I have to stand by that decision because events have moved so dramatically and quickly. Any updates have been out of date within hours. The statements we have been giving have been fully accurate and continue to be the case, so that Gateway Theatre continues to work closely with Seaton Town Council to reopen the building as soon as possible. However, after my statement, the team will be giving you a detailed picture of events to date, and you will be given the time to ask questions. I'm so proud to be a part of this team. They work brilliantly together in an enthusiastic, collaborative and respectful but assertive culture, with the shared goal of strengthening the Gateway's role in the town to bring art, education and entertainment to Seaton, accessible and relevant to as many as possible. I don't believe I really have to convince you all of the importance of the charity, historically in saving the building 15 years ago, and subsequently in developing a business model that employs a team of 4, sustained by the incredible goodwill and hard work of our wonderful volunteers and you, our fantastic supporters. I will, however, focus on a few key points. In preserving the building, we, as a theatre, we are continuing to bring accessible arts and education and entertainment to the town. We are maintaining an excellent community space, both within the building and as a town landmark, in a terrific town centre location, adjacent to local shops and cafe. This is the kind of placemaking the council spend millions to achieve, and we have it as a historical legacy in a beautiful building that includes a meeting room, excellent backstage changing rooms with a kitchen, a lovely and versatile auditorium, and the largest stage in East Devon. I also have to mention the lovely toilets. I'm sorry, but I'm so proud of them. That they were paid fully by the charity and completed during lockdown for obvious health reasons that were of concern in lockdown. I don't know who remembers the old toilets, but they were not COVID friendly by any means. One of several improvements to the building, including LED lighting, already completed and paid for 100% by the charity and you, its supporters. We frequently get enthusiastic feedback from nationally touring bands and performers who comment on the exceptional quality of the venue. I haven't even mentioned the full programme of events that has blossomed since lockdown that brings tourists to the town, many of whom settle, therefore adding enormously to the nighttime economy and in turn street safety. Thank you for your understanding. I'll hand you over to the team, starting with Ken.
Well, good evening, everybody. Fantastic to see so many people here. Sorry, better get used to driving this mic. As Rachel said, I'm Ken Newland and one of the trustees. I shall be giving the briefing on our current situation as it unfolded. And I will then say a bit on the chaos it caused, and then cover some of the measures we've taken to resolve those issues. But I want to start with what we consider to be the most important point, and that is that at no time was there any significant risk to people using the gateway at all. We can confirm the fire alarms were regularly tested and working. The fire extinguishers were regularly inspected. Our portable electronic equipment had been tested. Our staff and volunteers are trained in how to handle emergencies to keep people safe. And we had our annual fire safety and emergency planning assessment, the FRAR as they know it as, in March last year, and it stated that no major additional controls were required. So for any of you who felt that because there was a health and safety issue at the Gateway, that it meant that you as people that attended the Gateway were at risk, no, you were not. So you might wonder why everything went pear-shaped. And the answer is a mix of misunderstanding, an ambiguous lease, failures to appreciate the importance of some of the documentation, and most significantly, a much more rigorous insurance industry. Something we have not fully appreciated is that whilst we saw health and safety as a people issue, the insurance company are equally concerned at the risk of the building itself. A safe evacuation of the building does not stop it burning down. In this difficult insurance market, it sought more evidence than in previous years, and that showed that some checks, some tests and corrective action had not yet been fully undertaken. We're also not the sole occupier of the building. There are issues with the museum space that impact on us also. So at this point, I also want to make two statements. Firstly, when it became clear that some documentation was missing, the council's insurance company removed its insurance cover. We had no choice. It was not possible to continue using the building, and our lives became chaos. And second, Seaton Town Council has applied all their limited resources to addressing every insurance requirement. And they were many. And those requirements are inflexible. And the council are still, as a matter of priority, addressing the remaining issues. As of today, we still do not know what else the insurance company may demand, or when we can return. But we are very optimistic it will be in March. Very optimistic. Fortunately, the council, who are our landlords, advised us that they would get all works done and would discuss repayment of our share afterwards. So they are funding all the work that's going on there at the moment. So what I'm going to share with you now is 4 of the unexpected problems that arose on matters that we had thought were under control. And the first one, the building's electrical installation. I suspect some of you will have seen on social media the phrase EICR, the Electrical Installation Condition Report. You may, to us, the lease is not actually clear, as it could be, as to who is responsible for that building, the building infrastructure. I should mention here that we and the council agree that the lease between us needs to be rewritten. Added to that, the gateway people involved at the time the current lease was agreed have moved away, and the council had new staff, so there was no collective memory of the interpretation of the lease. Unfortunately, we each interpreted the lease somewhat differently, and we would have discovered this error back in 2021 had it not been for a misunderstanding over the electrical certificate for the toilet refurbishment. And as a result of that misunderstanding, the council advised us that the ERCR was not due again until 2025. So that meant we were reasonably confident that we didn't have to address it until this year. Worse, the frequency of testing of the EICR for theatres has changed. It went from a 5-year cycle, which was normal, to a more demanding 3-yearly cycle. So it was well overdue rather than coming up soon. When the EICR tests were undertaken last December, there were no Category 1 failures, so nothing which would have been serious. But quite a few Category 2 and Category 3 issues came to light, which is quite normal. The insurance company demanded that all Category 2 issues were fixed before they would consider reinstating the full insurance. These have now been done. So the EICR has been done, and most of the things which needed to be done have actually been done now. Moving on to the fire risk assessment that I mentioned a little while ago. Most fire risk inspections and assessments find things to fix. It's just the way it is. Whether it be due to equipment age, wear and tear, changing regulations, safety equipment identification, system processes, paperwork shortcomings, or training needs. And last year's FRAR was no exception. However, overall, we were advised that the risks were tolerable. The report stated that the risk was normal for a building of this type and that no major controls were required. It advised that ongoing monitoring should be undertaken and that minor cost improvements should be done, which we started. We knew there were more expensive things to do, especially things like the fire doors and emergency lighting. But we understood from the reports that many of these were to be as and when funds were available. And as we were still recovering from the financial devastation of the COVID shutdown and the expense of the toilet refurb to meet COVID's 2-metre rule, we were doing the affordable actions and paperwork activities first. Unfortunately, the insurance company demanded a higher standard than tolerable risk, and many of the nuanced risks were then deemed to need addressing now. Sorry, my brain went onto the wrong line there. Right, okay, so that was the fire risk assessment. As you can see, we were fairly comfortable that everything was under control, but there were changes in the way people were seeing this, and that was affecting us. The next item is something called PAT testing, portable equipment testing. We've always maintained our PAT testing regime, and our last test certificate in May 2023 stated that the next test was due in May 2025, this year. So we were okay there. What we had not realised is that under the fire risk assessment, some equipment, that is those accessible to the public, such as the kitchen, had been changed to a yearly cycle. We'd also put unused equipment in a cupboard because we weren't using it. And naturally, they'd not been tested. Apparently, that's not acceptable. If you've got equipment on the building, even if they're put away in a cupboard, they still have to be tested. So we had some issues there. And the final area of major concern, of interest for us, was the stage equipment. We are fully responsible for all the stage equipment. We had a thorough examination of the lifting equipment undertaken last year, but we had not appreciated that the distribution electrics needed a separate test from the building electrical inspection, which, as I said, was expected to be undertaken this year. And although the examination of our lifting equipment confirmed that our equipment was safe to operate, there were comments to be addressed. More significantly, we had not realised that fire treatment of the curtains was due. So there were the four key things which have caused us to be in the situation which we find ourselves. And of course, this all led to the last few months of chaos. December is our busiest, most expensive and full-on period in our calendar. Suddenly being faced with a shutdown was unbelievably stressing and chaotic. Not only did we have to cancel lots of events and refund huge amounts of money, we still had the bills for the live acts to pay, as well as cancellation fees for screenings and films. To try and minimise our losses and to try to meet our paying customers' expectations, the Gateway staff focused on finding new venues for as many acts as possible. Amazingly, given the lack of access to the building and the intolerable situation they found themselves in, the staff were successful in keeping many live events going. And we must thank the various venues that let us use their facilities, and also for the professionalism of our staff. But we lost a lot of revenue. At the same time, little information was coming from the council as they too were being challenged. The insurance company were not being very forthcoming, and the council's hands were tied. We had no idea when we could reopen, and we still do not have a date, as I said. I can tell you now that our finances were hemorrhaging. The trustees were within a whisker of declaring the charity insolvent in accordance with its responsibilities to the Charity Commission. We saw our only hope being to seek a grant from the council. As you probably know, this was turned down. Also turned down was our request for our share of the huge cost for remedial work to be postponed until the next financial year. It's important to say we do fully understand why the council has been unable to provide financial support to us. And we are now in the process of preparing a further submission which we hope will address the council's concerns. What has kept us going is the huge, huge generosity of some supporters who are determined to see the Gateway come back. You know, if it hadn't been for that generosity, we wouldn't be here tonight. So, and on the measures that we've taken to try to address all of these issues, we no longer intend to look back at the causes of our situation, but to look forward to ensuring that it does not happen again. To this end, we have given the council our plan, and we have put a lot of effort into getting things ready for the future of the Gateway. In summary, what are these plans? Well, firstly, we recognise that, like all organisations, policies and procedures can get out of date, and in respect of health and safety legislations, requirements also change. As a result, we have reviewed and updated all of our health and safety policies, guidance, procedures and checklists. This was a large body of work. John, our new H&S advisor, has completed his independent review of these documents and has confirmed to me that they are now up to industry standard. Secondly, we're mindful that staff can be distracted from addressing matters affecting the building, especially with a full and ongoing programme of events. To focus full attention on safety and building matters, we now plan to close the theatre for about a week every summer during the quiet period to give staff and contractors time to address all the building matters and such like. The third thing we're doing is our recent experience has shown that we need to provide specific health and safety training to the trustees, as well as to staff and volunteers. There has been training, but we need to go deeper than we have done. John brings a lot of health and safety expertise to the organisation, and he has a background that includes training. He will be identifying what additional training is required and delivering some of it. The next bit, our relationship with the council. Clearly, our routine dialogue with the council has fallen short of the ideal. To address this, we have offered the council better access and visibility to us, our workings and our viability. And this is so they can be comfortable that everything is in order. They can then advise their insurers accordingly. Next thing, obviously, our staff are mortified at what has happened to what they see as their work and their vocation. We have watched them respond to this catastrophic situation with professionalism and diligence to minimise the impact on the charity and our supporters. They have proven to be a great team. We have also seen that, as they develop their close working relationships, that the events programme has become ever more successful. Going forward, we should be providing them with our full support as the Gateway gets back to full operation. And I've mentioned the lease. Well, we in the council recognise the shortcomings in the current lease, and as I said earlier, we'd already resolved to address this. Undertaking this is now seen as rather more urgent than previously. We're expecting to work closely with the council over the coming months to address the lease rewrite. Finally, we urgently need to replenish our funds through grants, fundraising, etc. And Chris will be addressing this next.
My name's Chris Gamwell. I've been a trustee for about 2 years now. My role this evening is to explain to you as clearly as I can why we set our original funding target at £60,000 and what that money is needed for. Let me start by saying that there is no theatre in this country that does not rely for its survival on additional income over its ticket sales. The National Theatre, the Royal Opera House, and even most West End theatres rely to some extent or other on Arts Council funding. Expecting the Gateway to be a profit-making business without outside support is unrealistic. In a way, it's the difference between understanding value as opposed simply to price. Please consider that for a moment. So, £60,000, or now about £52,000, because as I stand here, I think the GoFundMe stands at some £7,500. It's a very considerable sum of money, of course it is. But considerable sums have already had to be spent on the building to bring the electrical and fire safety system up to current insurance industry standards. The Town Council, our landlords, have taken the lead in organising and paying for most of these works. They are entitled, under the lease, about which you've heard, to ask us for 50% of repair costs. And we have, in the past, always met those demands. Although, of course, we had more notice in the past and were able to budget. The difference now is both in the size of that 50% and, just as importantly, the timing of the payments the charity has to make. We've already been billed for £12,000, payable in the next few weeks. We've been told that a second bill of around £15,000 or more is in the pipeline, again likely to be payable just before the end of the financial year in April. Those bills amount to £27,000, payable soon.
Yeah.
On top of that...
Sorry, mate. Could you just clarify for what you're spending the money on?
We haven't spent the money yet, the council has.
Yes, you said the amount, so you said there's another £15,000 booked for what?
Well, we won't know until we receive the invoice, but what we received in effect is a stage invoice for electrical and other works carried out to date. Since the invoice was rendered, and probably before the invoice was rendered, other works were continuing. As they reached their completion, like a builder's stage payment, the invoice will be sent. Exactly what it says, we won't know until we see it. On top of that £27,000, we've consistently been warned by our landlord that other repairs, unrelated to the current situation, are expected. All we know so far about that is the concrete cladding panels to the exterior of the building need attention. Detailed quotes are awaited, but a figure of £16,000 has been mentioned, and half of that, of course, would add another £8,000 to our exposure later this year. This £35,000 is unlikely to be the total of the electrical and safety works, and other routine repairs to the fabric will no doubt arise. It's an old building. Our proportion of the insurance premium leapt last year from a few hundred to around £4,000. That figure is part of the 12,000 bill I've already mentioned, but it was an unexpected and unwelcome leap in our overheads, but it reflects the current state of the insurance market.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you something, so I'm just confused with everything. Is there somebody sitting on the panel who's a health and safety officer?
Yes, ma'am, we have a new trustee just joined us. So, yeah, health and safety advisor, we have a new trustee, yeah. So in summary, we will be asked to find around £35,000 over the coming month for insurance, building improvements and repairs alone. Moreover, none of this expense covers the work necessary to bring stage electrics, rigging and all fire curtains in the theatre to the current standard. We are prohibited by insurers from using the stage until this work has been done. So, no live gigs till then. We're working hard via the Town Council to obtain insurers' earliest possible permission to hold films and streaming events in the meantime. Our current lease states that the stage and curtain work must be paid for by us alone. Staff have been working incredibly hard to obtain competitive quotes, but indications to date are that another £12,000 or so will be required to carry out that work. This must be a priority for us to get live events back as soon as possible. All that amounts to some £47,000 or so. Once we're able to access the theatre again and arrange for our first events, there will be a lead time without any income being received until we can welcome you all back. The staff can't start work on a Monday and put on a live gig on Friday. In the meantime, while that lead time elapses, expenses continue to be incurred. What we all have tonight, what you, the supporters of Gateway, have, is an opportunity, a realistic opportunity, to ensure Gateway thrives, to save our theatre. Does the Gateway team believe that this is possible? Yes, of course, or we wouldn't be here. Our theatre was on the very brink of closure and may well have gone forever until over the course of a single remarkable Saturday, just a few weeks ago, a small group of people stepped in with funds exceeding £30,000 to avert closure. This replaced our lost income, and now we must move forward. So how can you help? The Gateway website and Facebook pages contain a link to our GoFundMe page, and that would be our preferred method to receive your donations for two equally important reasons. Firstly, if you're a UK taxpayer and simply click the box on the appeal page, the gift aid scheme will mean that we can claim from HMRC an additional 25%. This increases the value of your donation massively. For example, a £60 donation is £75 in our hands. But whatever the value of your donation, whether tens, hundreds or higher, please rest assured it will be just as valued by us as any other. Secondly, on the fundraising page, there's a little green clock that heads towards target. And that's a visual sign of progress. That's a morale boost for everybody. But more importantly, anyone who cares to look will see there on that webpage the enormous support for Gateway locally, and understand that we are both viable going forward and that we deserve all the backing we can attract. And as a result, become, hopefully, far more independent and in control of our own future than we ever have been before. Our climb to our target, I believe, will be a sign that we believe in our town. If you prefer to donate direct, don't worry, you've not been forgotten. Simply email finance@gatewaytheatre.co, finance@gatewaytheatre.co.uk, and our staff will provide you with our bank details and advise on gift aid if you're a taxpayer. I should add that existing gold, silver, bronze memberships will of course be extended to cover the closed period, and those memberships remain accessible on our website as before, or again, email finance@gatewaytheatre.co.uk. Having said that, for both the reasons I explained, we'd much prefer, for now, please, to receive donations via our GoFundMe page. In the room tonight, there are, or will be, or you'll come across, volunteers moving among you with yellow buckets to accept your donations, large and small. Anything and everything you can give is deeply appreciated by the Gateway team and by your fellow theatre goers. If, like many of us, you don't carry cash, then we have our pay terminals up and running for your donating convenience. Refunds. In closing, I believe we are all in this together. Let's show everyone what our theatre means to us. Let's do that now, over the next few days and weeks, and then for years to come, we can continue to take pride in and enjoy our Gateway Theatre. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Now, to say our nerves have been shredded by the events over the past few weeks would be an understatement. But knowing how much support there has been for the Gateway Theatre has been overwhelming, and we are extremely grateful to everyone for the incredible kindness and generosity you have shown. It really has made all the difference. And as with all dramas, the show must go on. And all the staff and volunteers are waiting in the wings, ready to leap into action the moment the curtain goes up. Our Christmas programme was one of our most ambitious and exciting yet. With our unique red carpet gala film night, when we were going to transport you to darkest Peru, and the musical medley we had lined up would even have had the Grinch jingling his bells. But we are nothing if not resilient. And with your help, we will be able to once again give you a stupendous programme. We will do our best to include some of the films we had originally planned to screen. That may not always be possible because after a certain amount of time they're no longer available to us. But to give you an idea, the films we'll be showing, because I know the films are very popular and our picnic nights are unique. But to give you an idea, we're going to be showing Bridget Jones, A Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan story, Salt Path, which some of you may know is based around here, and the book was very popular, Wicked, Mission Impossible, of course, and Conclave. We thought we might also do a special Oscar weekend for the award winners. Then there's Deadman's Reckoning, and we hope to salvage the special Paddington screening. We also have a fantastic live band lineup, including classic rock American Highway, ABBA, and the postponed New West End Jerseys. Now, on top of those live performances, there will be live theatre, including the award-winning Paddle Boat Children's Theatre. There will be comedy and special screenings, because we all like a bit of Andre Rieu, don't we? Yay. We are especially looking forward to the return of our community groups. Now again, you may not realise just how many community groups we support. There are a lot. There is not one day when there isn't a community group using our facilities. And during 2024, more and more people discovered just what there is on offer at the Gateway, and that there really is nowhere else like it. Yvonne Waite's Seated Yoga, Damien Burton's Taekwondo, B Sharp's Baby Boogie, Angela's Dance Fit, and of course the U3A, to name but a few. We are also looking at new ideas, including a local bands night. We want to support local bands, local upcoming bands, preferably, we'd like some younger bands to come in. And we're going to be reconnecting with music promoters, including Jazz Jurassica and Simon Strange. Now, the Jealous Comedy Nights, they are bringing international comedians to our stage. And it was only thanks to the support of local business that the last one was able to go ahead. We are having another one. Please buy your tickets. It's the 28th of March. It will be at the tramway, but we are having another one. So please do come along. The point is, we had managed to create a phenomenal programme. And after the devastation of COVID, we were on the up. And with your help, we can do it again. It's funny, but when we were faced with the very real possibility the Gateway Theatre charity would cease to exist, someone said to Sophia, "It's just a job." But that's the problem. It really isn't. Working in theatre and working in the Gateway Theatre, it's a way of life. It's a way of thinking. It's an escape route. It's a door to another world where you can go, even if it's just for a couple of hours, to go somewhere to forget what's going on in the outside world. And let's face it, it's a pretty rubbish world at the moment. We all need theatre. We all need the Gateway.